When my sister called me worthless, I almost believed her. Almost. I was 26, living in a tiny studio apartment, juggling 2 jobs, one as a cashier, another as a part-time real estate assistant. My sister Vanessa had it all, a perfect house, a husband who adored her, and a way of making me feel small no matter what I did. She'd laugh when I told her I was saving to buy property. "Oh please," she'd sneer over her wine glass. "You can't even afford a parking space. Just stay in your lane, little sis." Mom never defended me. Dad was gone. And every family dinner was the same, Vanessa glowing in designer clothes while I sat at the corner, pretending I didn't care. But that night, something inside me snapped. She had just told me, in front of everyone, "You'll always be renting someone else's dream." The table went silent. Her husband tried to laugh it off, but my cheeks were already burning. I excused myself, drove home, and cried until morning. Then I opened my laptop. If Vanessa thought I'd be renting forever, she was right, but not in the way she imagined. Because that night, I made a decision. I wouldn't just rent. I would own. And one day, when the time was right, she'd be paying me. I didn't sleep that night. Every word my sister said kept echoing in my head like a curse. "You'll always be renting someone else's dream." So I decided to change the dream. I started small, painfully small. I kept my cashier job for stability, but threw myself into my part-time work with a real estate agency. I wasn't just filing papers anymore. I was studying everything: zoning laws, foreclosure listings, rental margins. I took notes during client meetings like my life depended on it. Most nights, while Vanessa posted pictures of her vacations in Greece or Bali, I was eating noodles at my desk, watching real estate webinars until my eyes blurred. By the end of that year, I had saved just enough for a down payment on a tiny duplex, a forgotten building on the edge of town. Everyone told me it was a bad investment. The roof leaked, the walls were cracked, and the tenants hadn't paid rent in months. But where they saw trash, I saw foundation. I fixed it up one weekend at a time. Painted the walls myself, replaced floors with my own 2 hands. The day I rented out that first unit, I stood in the hallway and smiled through tears. It wasn't much, but it was mine. By year 3, I owned 3 duplexes. By year 5, 7 rental properties, each one generating steady income. I learned how to negotiate, how to manage, how to grow. Vanessa never asked how I was doing. She didn't care, or maybe she assumed I was still living in that same small apartment. But I didn't mind. Her silence gave me room to build quietly. Then, one afternoon, I got a call from a developer I'd worked with before. "Lila," he said, "we're finalizing the acquisition of a few foreclosed homes in your sister's neighborhood. Thought you might be interested." My heart skipped. Her neighborhood. I drove there that evening. Same street, same gates, same smug perfection. But as I checked the listings, my hands started trembling. Her house wasn't for sale. But the one next door was. And the 2 across the street. Within 6 months, I owned them all. Vanessa didn't know it yet. But the next chapter of our story was about to begin, and this time, I wouldn't be the one begging for approval. It started with a phone call. I still remember her voice, sharp, impatient, dripping with that same arrogance I once feared. "Lila? Hey, you wouldn't happen to know anyone renting out in our area, would you? Our landlord just sold the property next door, and it looks like he's selling this one too. Total nightmare." For a second, I almost laughed. Vanessa, the same sister who once mocked me for renting someone else's dream, was now renting hers. I took a slow breath, keeping my tone casual. "Actually," I said, "I might know someone." "Really? Who?" "Me." Silence. Then a short, forced laugh. "You're kidding." "No, Vanessa. I bought the property across the street last month. And, as of yesterday, this one too." The pause that followed was delicious. When she finally spoke, her voice had lost that sugar-coated superiority. "You bought my house?" "No," I said softly. "The house you rent. Big difference." She hung up without another word. For a week, she avoided me. Then the text came. Can we talk? When I met her at the cafe downtown, she looked different. Smaller somehow. The same woman who once called me worthless now stirred her coffee without looking up. I didn't know things had gotten this far, she muttered. We had some bad investments, and Eric lost his job. The mortgage got messy, and... She trailed off. I watched her struggle, the same way I once did. But sympathy didn't erase memory. Do you remember what you said to me, Vanessa? I asked quietly. She frowned. What? That I'd always be renting someone else's dream. She froze, her eyes darting up to meet mine. I guess you were half right, I said. I am renting. But now I'm the one people rent from. Her mouth opened, then closed again. For once, she had no comeback. I slid a contract across the table. New lease terms, fair and clean. You can stay, I said. But this time on my terms. Her hand trembled as she picked up the papers. Why are you doing this? I smiled faintly. Because I'm not like you. And as I stood to leave, I saw it, the flicker of realization in her eyes. The kind that comes when you finally understand. The person you dismissed has built something bigger than your pride. Weeks passed after that cafe meeting, and for the first time in my life, my sister's silence felt louder than her words ever did. I didn't gloat. I didn't post pictures. I just worked. The company I'd built, Lila Holdings, had grown faster than I could have imagined. What started as one broken duplex now stretched into 12 properties across 2 cities. I had a small office, a few employees, and enough financial freedom to breathe without fear. But success doesn't erase old ghosts, it just gives you better lighting to see them in. One evening, I drove past Vanessa's house, my house now. The porch light was off, the curtains half drawn. For the first time, she looked like someone who'd finally stopped pretending. The next day, she called. Lila, can I talk to you? Her voice was smaller. Not fake this time, real, tired, human. I agreed to meet her. We sat on the porch steps, just like when we were kids, before the arrogance, before the comparisons. She looked at me for a long moment, then said quietly, I used to envy you. I blinked. You what? You were always brave. You kept trying. I mocked you because I couldn't stand how much you believed in yourself when I couldn't even believe in me. Her words hit harder than I expected. I'd waited so long for her apology that when it finally came, it didn't feel like victory, it felt like release. I sighed. You hurt me, Vanessa. But, maybe you also made me stronger. She gave a small laugh through tears. Guess we both built something from that pain, huh? Yeah, I said. Just different kinds of foundations. The sun dipped below the houses, my houses, painting everything gold. And for the first time, I didn't feel like I'd won against her. I felt like I'd finally won for myself. We sat there quietly for a while. No more insults. No more walls. Just 2 sisters, finally human again. Before I left, she said softly, Thank you for letting us stay. I looked back at her. You're not my tenant, Vanessa. Not really. You're family. Just, try not to forget that again. A year later, I stood on the balcony of my new apartment complex, the one that carried my name on the sign out front, Reed Park Residences, managed by Lila Holdings. The air was cool, quiet. Below me, lights glowed in every window, families laughing, kids chasing each other down hallways, the soft hum of a community that I had built from the ground up. It still felt surreal sometimes, how the same girl once called worthless by her sister now signed paychecks, approved leases, and built homes for people who once thought they'd never own anything again. But this wasn't about proving Vanessa wrong anymore. That part of me, the one driven by hurt, had finally gone quiet. Now I was driven by something else. Purpose. That afternoon, I was meeting with a new tenant, a young woman named Clara. She was nervous, clutching the application in her hands. I don't think I'll qualify, she said, voice trembling. My credit's not great, but I just need a chance. Her words stopped me cold. Because years ago, I was her. I smiled gently. Clara, Sometimes all someone needs is one person to believe they can do it. You've got that person now. She looked at me like I'd handed her the world. And in that moment, I realized, this was the real victory. Later that night, Vanessa came by. She looked healthier, calmer. Eric found a new job, she said proudly. We're saving to buy again, maybe one of your houses, if you'll have us. I laughed softly. We'll see if you pass the background check. She rolled her eyes, smiling. For the first time in years, it felt easy between us, like all the sharp edges had finally been sanded down. As she was leaving, she turned and said, You know, Lila, you're nothing like the girl I used to mock. I met her eyes. Good. Because I'm nothing like the woman you used to be. When she drove away, I stood alone under the streetlights, calm, steady, whole. Revenge had started the fire. But forgiveness built the empire. I looked up at the glowing sign once more, Lila Holdings. The name that used to mean nothing to her now owned the ground beneath her feet. And as the wind whispered through the quiet street, I smiled. Worthless, I murmured to the night. Yeah, not anymore.